4 potential ideas that you may want to incorporate or not in your food shortage solution plan. Hello, my name is Les, and I want to welcome you to the Chef Prepper channel. We're glad you're here, and we think you're going to like it here. It appears that we're getting closer and closer to food shortages here in the U.S. and all across the earth. There is nothing that we can do to prevent the food shortages from happening should they occur. But we can prepare for food shortages so that we don't get caught up in panic buying frenzies, and even worse, our family going hungry. So how can we do that, you say? The solutions we're going to look at in this video require very little money, but quite a bit of legwork. Unlike video 1, which required not much legwork, but some money. And after the video, I'd like to hear from you guys about the status of food shortages, bare shelves in your areas. Ideas for you guys to consider. You may find them useful, and if you don't, go back to video 1 or wait for video 3. And in this video, video 2 of the series, we're going to look at 4 potential ideas that you may want to incorporate or not in your food shortage solution plan. When I say practical foraging, I'm not talking about things like dandelion greens or mushrooms. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with foraging for these kinds of things, but they're not going to give you substantial amounts of calories. What I'm talking about are things that will give you substantial amounts of calories that are fairly easy to store. Things like these: pears, walnuts, chestnuts, pawpaws. If you don't have a lot of property, practical foraging can include road trips in which you just drive down the road, like my wife and I were doing here, looking for things that you might be able to forage or barter for, such as a chestnut tree that no one was gathering the chestnuts from, another chestnut tree, chestnuts laying in a road. Here are some of the chestnuts that we have harvested so far this year. This is a persimmon orchard. It is on our property, but it just came up on its own, volunteered, but we get persimmons from it now each year. Here you can see the persimmons up close, but where we live, it's still not time to harvest them. Pawpaw tree that was in a public park with no one harvesting the pawpaws. There's an up close shot of them in the same tree, and here are some that we picked up off the ground. They were just going to lay there and rot, so we got a few. We saw apple trees and pear trees. This one here is a pear tree, and it is actually on our property. But there are some out there that you could find. There's a close-up of some of the pears. Here are some that we harvested. And now we have canned pears. And you can do the same with apples or whatever kind of fruit you might have available in your area. But you got to go look for them. Hazelnut bushes or trees or shrubs are available this time of year. Just got to go look for them. Close shot of one. And there is a few that we have harvested so far this year. It may be hard to tell from that picture, but that's a black walnut tree. And there are hundreds or maybe thousands of them around where we live. Those are some black walnuts that we actually harvested from foraging last year. We haven't been able to get any this year, but maybe you guys can. These are Jerusalem artichokes, also called sunchokes. You can order these as bulbs and plant them. And in fact, these here are some that we planted. But I wanted to show these to you guys because they are fairly common. They have a fairly good amount of calories, very easy to grow, identify, and harvest. So take a road trip and do some practical foraging. You never know what you might run across. And if you're not familiar with plants that are available in your area, I highly recommend one of these books here, all 3 by the same author. If you're only going to get one book, this is the one I would recommend. It is a very, very good foraging help. Bartering, like practical foraging, will probably require a road trip or 2. And you'll be looking for things just as you were with the practical foraging, but your list of things you look for might include things like these. Gardens that look like they might not get completely harvested. Maybe some folks need help. Maybe they just gave up and don't want to fool with it. You can always stop and ask. These are butternut squash, and while it might look like there's not many available here, check this out. This came from that very garden, and there's probably 2 or 3 more wheelbarrow fulls like this still to be had. sweet potatoes, and part of the harvest. Field corn for making cornmeal, cornbread. I mentioned gardens in your practical foraging and or bartering because many people sometimes just simply give up on their garden towards the end of the year and they just leave it there. Some folks will be glad to have you stop by and say, hey, I'll help you harvest that for a portion of it. So look for those gardens that are late in being harvested. Hunting is a way to have meat for your table, protein, some of the game animals that are available. If hunting just isn't available for you, or like me, you just don't have the time or patience for it, and you prefer animals such as these for your meat and protein, we'll talk about how to add this into your food shortage plans in video 3. Fishing, like hunting, is also a way to put meat and protein on your table and can be very fun as well.
Like a bird on a tree, I'm just sitting.
This has been the second of our 3-part series, so be sure to watch for part 3, and so that you don't miss it, hit the subscribe button. If you can, give us a thumbs up, and consider sharing the video with your family and friends.